remember, the first win is one of the most important, so that it sets the tone for the rest of the series. Amaz is going to be on the coin for this, so at least he denies that extra card for Hyped, which is kind of good, but at the same time, sometimes when you're playing these control decks, you want to have that extra mana so you can put the threats a little bit quicker and be able to respond to your opponents. But I guess you kind of take the good with the bad. At least you denied the miracle, the coin.
Oh yeah, certainly. On the other hand, Hype mulliganed his whole hands, I guess to get a Gadget-san or maybe a C7. He did mulligan Edwin because he didn't have a coin. If you have a coin, it's good to keep Edwin because it's a solid free drop. But here, well, he didn't have it, so he did have to mulligan. Right now, his hand looks pretty meek, with no gadgets and no free drops. He only has spells, and he also doesn't have any good way to draw cards. So it doesn't look good for Hyped with this hand, even though in the matchup he has an advantage. But you have to remember that a good matchup is like 70 to 80%. So it means that the deck still loses 20 to 30% if you get a bad hand or if your opponent is able to stabilize.
Yeah, it's actually a good point. You give Paladin the ability to build the board against you early, and they do have sticky / annoying minions with Senjin, Sludge Belchers, and even Harvest Golem can just sneak in a lot of damage over the course of turns. But picking up this No Mission Adventure was very key. It gives Hype something to do on turn 4 nonetheless, which is always often an awkward mana turn. Now his hand looks pretty good if he picks up Gadget Zam, but if he doesn't, and he's picking up other stuff like second prep, he's going to be hurting for a while.
Oh, that Kodo had so much value. Coin Kodo, he built up the board, he destroyed the board of his opponent, and right now Amaz can just apply pressure. If you apply pressure, Miracle Rogue has a problem because it's not easy. Well, you only have Farseers, right? And I think like Hype actually cut one Farseer, so he only has one Farseer to be able to heal. But other than that, there are no taunts. So what Hype has to do is he has to retain board control and then actually get his combos and be able to push with damage. Right now he is defending, which is definitely not good. And Paladin has a lot of very strong cards like Sludge Belcher on turn 5, Current on turn 6. And then he has those Senjins that will be able to stop Leroy's and other weird cards that Hype will be able to play. So Amaz's hand looks really amazing for the current situation.
You know, and Hype's going to try to see if he can recover from this with Van Cleef. He's also doing this and spreading out his damage, so that way, in case something like Aldor Peacekeeper comes out or Humility, this Van Cleef can at least still be able to trade against this Harvest Golem rather than just overkilling and saving a little bit of HP. I think it makes sense, granted that Paladin can't burst, and so you're not as careful with your health unless you see like a true Silver Champion equipped. There's no way for Paladin to surprise damage you, so you can play a little liberally here.
Oh yeah, certainly. If you don't get a Gadget-san and Leroy, you definitely have to do something. And Edwin is a card that can push with damage if not answered. But unfortunately for Hyped, Amaz has Equality, which is a great answer to Edwin. But being Amaz here, do you even want to use Equality? Because, well, this Edwin is a 6/6. If you play a Sludge Belcher, it still seems that it might stop Edwin. But yeah, personally, I would play Equality as well because the other option to play Equality would be to kill Concealed Gadget-san, but you don't have a follow-up, like you don't have Pyromancer and Consecration, and here you just, you know, get rid of the threat, and Hype is in a really bad position with double preparation.
Yeah, he's losing really important turns. He might have to sap with no gain to kind of benefit off of it. To benefit off of it. Usually, saps allows you to push with whatever minions you have on the board, but if you're using sap defensively,
oh my god, he got a Gadget-san. This is exactly what he needed. He has double preparation, he has that sap, he will get a lot of value. This game has changed completely right now.
There we go.
That's the thing about Gadget-san.
Second sap.
You know, that's Miracle Rogue. It's if you don't get Gadget-san, those cards are just bad. They don't do anything. Like preparation is just a bad card if you don't have Gadget-san. But here, well, suddenly it's so much better.
Yeah, well, I'm inclined to agree, and I think Hyped has pretty much a good way to continue pushing through because he's got Azure Drake and other ways to chain. He's a little bit uncomfortable with maybe leaving up this token, but at the same time, you don't want to be missing damage. It's a little bit of a trade-off. Not to mention that Gadgetzan also is kind of just easily taken out by True Silver, and you're not that confident in your card draw because you're still a few pieces away from being able to end the game. Things like Leroy Shadow Step are still some of the cards you're looking for at the moment.
well, he will be very happy to learn that Amaz actually doesn't have any way to deal with this right now. Can't kill it.
Yeah, the best thing he can do at the moment is just take off some of his damage and set up a taunt with Alder Peacekeeper.
You know, it's a situation that you really don't want to find yourself in being Amaz. It's like you stare at gadgets and auctioneer. You're like, I know what is going to happen. I have to remove this, but you simply can't. Like, what are you even going to do? That's why maybe the equality play wasn't the best, because right now you only have the minions. You don't have any removal in your hand. Using Aldor Peacekeeper on gadgets and auctioneer is just sad. So yeah, I guess you just try to build up your board, but right now this turn might be so amazing for Hype.
All right. All right. Well, with Hypes, how do you kind of combine and chain draw as much as you can? I don't even think you need to use second sap here first. I think you can utilize this deadly poison you just drew. I think that's what he's going for. Ooh, Leroy off the top. That's a nice way to start counting down damage.
How much is this?
We've got 10 from Leroy, 5 from the Blade Flurry. That's 15 plus the gadget end if he can push through. So if he can kind of pair everything together, he's got 19 damage right here this turn. But I think Leroy's obviously going to be waiting for Shadow Step.
Well, he has a sap anyway, so right now he can just continue drawing cards.
Gosh.
And also deal some damage. Why not?
Hype's counting his cards, by the way, just to make sure he doesn't overdraw. If he shivs for this and he draws 2 more cards, will he be stuck at 10? Wants to just make sure not to overdraw here. And I think he should be okay. He'll be at 9, I believe.
Yeah, it's fine. He also had an option to weapon up, but right now with Leroy's Shadow Step and Sap.
God.
So Amaz has to destroy the Gadgetzan and also taunt up. That Gadgetzan actually changed the game completely.
Well, that's a little bit of an understatement. I think Amaz got a little unlucky with how the things changed, right? He got Aldor Peacekeeper for the Gadgetzan and Equality for the Van Cleef. If he could have just had those cards come in different sequence, Amaz actually would have been in a lot differently. He would have been able to deny these draws. Pretty much the entire, like, 7 cards that, right from the Farseer that Hyped has wouldn't be in his hand. And maybe Amaz can start putting on pressure back on his opponent. But instead, he can't fit everything. And it looks like Hype's going to be able to take game 1 here.
Yeah, it's funny how Hype is counting the cards all the time to check if Leroy will actually go to his hand with Shadow Step.
Sure.
Because it happened to some players before. You play Leroy, you think, hey, I won, and then you Shadow Step, you draw a card, and then you don't get a Leroy because you have... Leroy is an 11th card, so... That would be a bad way to start the tournament. But he counted correctly, he got the kill, and that...
And be in prime position to close it out, because Shaman's also going to struggle against Miracle Rogue. Once again, Hype not on the coin, but it didn't stop in the previous game. As long as you can get these key cards to continue cycling, like Azure Drake and Gnomish Inventor, you're still off to a decent start. Of course, Gadgetzan is the one you're searching for, because Priest has a hard time removing unless they have the 2-card combo of Circle Healing Alkanite, like you pointed out.
Yeah, and again, Hype didn't get the Gadgetzan Auctioneer, and his hand looks kind of weird, but it's not bad. He'd probably like to get a backstab, but still, it doesn't look bad. He will, if he draws into that Gadgetzan at a certain point, that will be good. He has that Gnomish Inventor to be able to play a 4-drop. On the other hand, Amaz, well, he has the Death Lord, so he will be able to apply some early pressure, and Death Lord might actually be hard to kill for Hyped. Deadly Poison, a nice card to get. He will be able to utilize it. Do you even Blade Flurry now?
Well, I mean, you don't necessarily need to. You're not under that much pressure. SI7 allows you to put on a little damage. Sure, he's going to draw a card, most likely. But at least the Northshire Cleric can't draw immediately off of that either. It can't attack in and kill it, that is, unless you want to sacrifice it immediately. So I think Amaz is still kind of okay with the situation, and so is Hyped. Or is he going to trade for it? I guess so. Wow. I'm a little surprised by that.
That was a good call, because without that, Hype will be able to clear the board and get something from Death Lord. But here a 4/4 Edwin, a 4 attack card, which is really hard to deal with if you're a priest. How is Amaz going to deal with it even? I guess he just fought. Yeah, Thought Steal is a great card to play. And
Oh
he gets a
my!
gadget out
He gets a
here. Oh my
gadget
God.
sand, and he gets
And a
cold
Cold
blood.
Blood.
Wow.
This is sick.
He can also
This is
utilize
Amaz.
Circle of Healing to put on a really strong minion too. A 6/7 once again. For a series of events. Maybe Amaz knew everything. You know, I'm always a little hesitant to sacrifice Northshire Cleric just because it's one of your ways to draw into things. Like your combo piece that you need. And as a priest player, you need to get a fast start as possible. But what a way to kind of have everything else. Hype, fortunately, has a board clear with Blade Flurry.
If he gets a Leroy, this is so awkward.
Oh, and it's a low tab.
Okay, low tab is fine.
Yeah.
Imagine getting Leroy in here. If he gets a Leroy, what happens?
Well, you're pretty screwed unless you have, because you lost Van Cleef and you lost Leroy, so what other win conditions do you have? You just have to actually push with damage with Azure Drake and gadgets in.
The Novish Inventor.
Whoa. Well, Hype realizing that he dodged a
Oh my
potential
God.
game-ending bullet there.
Those two draws were so good for Hype. Now he has all the tools, and he still has spells, so... I'm not sure if he will be playing Gadgets on next turn, but having Gadgets on here gives him options. Like, instead of being desperate and trying to get as much damage as possible, now he can relax, and he's in a situation like, hey, I can just wait 2 more turns, get some more spells in my hand, some more combo pieces, and then just play Gadgets on and get everything I need to finish the game.
Speaking of gadgets in, this might be surprising. Well, Hype says, well, he drew Cold Blood and Gadgets in as his 2 cards. And now Amaz is the one cycling through. He picks up Harrison Jones and Wild Pyromancer. 2 cards that could impact this matchup.
Conceal from the
off
top.
the top for Hype. Wow.
Yeah, this is sick. Is he going to kill this Gadgetson? Oh yeah, he exactly has enough. So, perfect. I guess you have to kill it.
I mean, I don't think you want to give your opponent the opportunity to keep drawing. But Priest doesn't synergize as easily off of it unless he's running a lot of the low-cost spells, which Amaz does. Modern Priests use a lot less spells. They don't run Holy Smites as often. Ooh, he's gonna conceal before attacking. I guess this means he's gonna trade anyways. Doesn't matter. He wanted to see if maybe he can pick up a card that can probably continue to put damage out.
Like Deadly Poison. Then you can just keep the 2/4 on board, kind of. I'm still amazed about that Thought Steal, by the way. Like, Amaz is known for getting exactly the cards he needs with Thought Steal, where a lot of players say Thought Steal is overrated because you just get to random cards and mostly Deadly Poisons. Amaz, when he casts it, he always gets the cards he needs. But now again, he is not able to deal with that Gadgets and Auctioneer. So Hype will have a miracle turn on turn 8 with a lot of spells in his hand. Even that Sap.
Oh, and a preparation. That's going to give Hype a lot more cards. So everything's just panning out perfectly for this Miracle Road. Gadgetzan showing up at the right time for Hyped.
A second Gadgetzan is a blank for now. But still, he has so many cards and so much mana that he's able to get everything he needs.
Wow, he can pretty much push through everything here. And still have something to drop 3-drop comfortably.
Well, he will be able to push with some damage from Gadgetzan, but he still has 5 mana, so...
I guess you shiv so that way you can play Farce here. Oh, never mind. He's gonna go Fan of Knives then if he just shivs directly. Doesn't want to waste any damage whatsoever.
That backstab after you deal damage to the taunts.
Sure.
But yeah, backstab will be useful anyway.
I mean, the point is Hype is trying to optimize his damage, draw as many cards as possible. You know, the fact that he's a second Gadget Stand doesn't matter. He can win now, essentially, by grabbing other second Shadow Step and setting up for a lethal this way. He's got Leroy and Shadow Step in hand, and he's got 7 on board, so he's just a few damage points short at the moment.
On the other hand, he has to be mindful about the card count, because if you get too many cards, it might be troublesome. But well, certainly I agree. He's in a very good position to win this game next turn, if possible.
Amaz can kill the Gadgets in, but he actually chooses to use Harrison Jones. Could have used a Wild Pyromancer with preparation. Oh, actually, never mind. Is that enough mana?
Well...
Can you Wild Pyromancer prep Holy Nova? And that's
16, 20... I don't think he has enough mana to actually win.
I'm just surprised that Amaz left up Gadget Sand here. I felt like he had an opportunity to kill it with Preparation Holy Nova play, but maybe he was a little bit short of mana because I think Preparation... No, I think he had enough. Either way, this Gadget Sand has now continued the draws, and Hype is getting very close to damage with that Cold Blood.
That's lethal.
That is lethal, I believe. Oh no. Hype draw through almost all of his deck already, and game number 2 has quickly been ended. And Amaz is going to jump, or actually, Hype is going to jump out to a 2-0 lead, and Amaz is going to have to rely on his Shaman deck to get him through.
Yeah, that was pretty well, really well played by Hype. He knows this deck. He played so many games. I think. Do you think he played even more than 1,000 games with Miracle Rogue?
Oh, easily.
Yeah, on 2 accounts, definitely.
Something else, which by the way, he has Warrior and Mage lined up to go, which sounds very enticing, considering that we haven't seen too much Mage than 6-0.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see that Mage, by the way. So Amaz on a coin again for the 3rd time. What does it even mean? RNG. And Hype gets the Gadget Auctioneer. This is the most important card in this matchup, as mentioned. And he can relax and well, he has a lot of good cards. He gets Conceal as well. Oh my god.
He pairs everything else.
Knives. Exactly. And Backstab, Fun of Knives. He has everything he needs for the early game, kind of. And Gadget and Conceal. Well, this looks pretty good for Hype. On the other hand, Amaz, well, he has a good start as well. He has a lot of early game cards. He has a lot of burst and a double Hex. I'm not sure how useful Hex is, but still, it's a good card to have anyway.
I think Doomhammer is actually very important for Amaz. Doomhammer is one of these ways, because Rogue, they've been cutting back the Farseers, and it's one of those ways that you can push in a lot of damage, and Rock Biters can end the game very quickly if you pair it with the Doomhammers. And there is an opportunity, like say Shaman can pressure and get 6-8 damage off of these Feral Spirits. You pair together maybe a 10 damage burst, and you're not looking at too much more in order to push Rogue out of the game. So as much as Hype does have a lot of cards, if Amaz can find a way to continue sneaking damage, perhaps he has a way to win.
And Amaz will have a lot of burst with the Flametongue Totem because
also true.
Hype is not able to clear the whole board. He is taking damage. He got rid of one of the wolves, but still, this is 4 points of damage here. With the Flametongue coming in, this is totally 8, so Hype will drop to 18. And next turn, he has no way to clear the board.
Yeah.
Also, Gadgets and Conceal is turn 6. By turn 6, he actually might be dead.
Oh, Amaz just chooses to go for a more passive route and chooses to save Flametongue Totem. I don't know, if you're going to play Doomhammer next turn anyways and start whacking away, I feel like Flametongue is a priority to squeeze in, so if he can't respond to your minion damage... Gosh, because imagine if this was placed between the Feral Spirit Wolf and the Spectral Spider, you'd be able to squeeze in 4 more extra damage there. Or 6, because you have to take an extra shot with his hero power.
Yeah, you know, but it's an easy decision when we see both hands of the players.
Also very true.
Amaz is probably playing around Blade Flurry, which is exactly 3 damage to board, so he will lose a lot. He wants to utilize his hero power at creating totems to be able to save cards, and that Flametongue Totem will still deal damage. Like in this situation, Flametongue was obviously the better card because we know that Hype didn't actually have a way to deal with it. But still, right now, Gadgetson, Conceal, and only 15 points of health.
Yeah. Has to kind of be cautious about everything. He's been constantly using his hero power, and this is the opportunity that Amaz has been looking for. In fact, if he picks up Rockbiter, that's game right there, because he has the ability to coin out.
It's game right now.
Oh, because of the Flametongue, you're right.
Yeah, he has an overkill.
Here we go. So Amaz is going to be able to take this game and rush Hype down completely by turn 6.
Oh man, this is so weird, right? It's the way for Shaman to win, but Hype kind of had all the cards he needed. He played his Gadgetsan with
started off strong with Miracle Rogue, but now let's see if he can use his Warrior deck and show a little bit of his versatility outside of the dominance of a deck that he used to climb ladder.
Oh my god, what happened?
And keeping Sludge Belcher.
Amaz doesn't have a coin. This is something new.
Hype's not playing Miracle Rogue anymore. So I guess he can finally get the coin.
So let's compare the hands in here. From Amaz, he kind of missed the early drops, but he always has the trusty totem that he can utilize with Flame Tongue if he wants to. He has Numbers Inventor. Well, his hand looks kind of clunky, but it's not that bad. And from Hype side, he got Armor Smith, which is pretty cool. He has a lot of late game cards. That coin might actually be pretty important if he wants to play a 4-drop, but then he will have nothing on turn 5. So coin is good, but his hand is kind of weird.
I feel like coin is okay to a certain point in the early game, but when you start getting to the late stages in a control matchup, you want to start having the ability to have an extra mana, and that's where things like Ramp Druid and Wild Growth really have strong dominance over other control decks. If you're able to utilize that mana efficiently, and that's where Amaz can kind of be able to grab an advantage here. Gnomish Inventor, by the way, a really important card that's been pushed into a lot of decks because cards like Sludge Belcher, Azure Drake, and Spectral Knight have been taking the spots of the Drake, and so you're able to continue to push out card draw, which has kind of still been missing from Shaman decks because there's so many good Naxxramas cards nowadays, Nims, that people feel like they don't have room for Drakes and Manatide Totems in their Shaman decks, and that's why someone like Sixo including it was a big deal.
I'm looking at his board, and it really shows how metagame slowed down. Looking at those minions, they almost do no damage. Those players just drop the minions, and they have 0 attack, 2 attack, 1 attack, taunts. There is no pressure from both sides, and it's funny how the metagame actually slowed down after Naxxramas.
Well, you say funny, but I like it. I think it requires players to think a little bit. Think a little bit more, excuse me. Not that players weren't thinking before. Yeah, but a lot of decks kind of play themselves. Like combo Druid with like token kind of made sense. Just play combo if you have lethal. Miracle Rogue is just draw cards.
Are you firing shots at the Zoo players?
I didn't even mention Zoo, but we can throw them in too. Why not? Put them in the kitchen too. I don't mind. Zoo played itself as well.
Zoo is fine. You have to make decisions for your lifetime.
Yeah, I guess. Do I play this on the left or the right side of the minion? But yeah, for the most part, Naxxramas has increased a lot of the complexity of decisions of how players have to interact with the board. Death Rattle order does matter. Like the fact that you played Death's Bite before or after your Sludge Belcher, so that way your Death Rattle doesn't trigger on your own minion. These kinds of things you want to be very mindful of.
Certainly, and here, by the way, Amaz had a lot of decisions, and I'm sure he didn't want to use that Hex that much, because playing versus Warrior, that's a greedy Warrior. Well, any Warrior actually has a lot of legendary cards, so using Hex on a Sludge Belcher seems like a waste. You know that there will be Ragnaros, Alexstrasza, Romash, probably Kern, maybe even Geddon, so you're like, I will have so many targets for those Hex cards. But on the other hand, he was in a situation where he had to deal with the board, and he had to kill those cards. And right now, after clearing the board, he is able to extend a bit. And you see, he's not playing around Brawl. Like, he was happy to play all those minions in here.
Well, even so, it's a little more brawl-proof. You still get minions off of the spectral spiders that spawn. I think you bring up a good point, by the way. Like, Amaz did take a while to figure everything out if he wants to go for the board clear, because look at the minion quality of what's in my hype saying. He's got 3 cards worth hexing, Sylvanas, Karen, and Ragnaros, and unfortunately he can't do all of them.
Well, right now Amaz can hex another card, but then he'll have to face a reality where he's out of hex cards. So now it's a decision. Do I really want to overextend? And he does over.
Nope. Brawl's not going to even be in the back of Amaz's mind, just going for it. I think he recognizes that he's used his removal, and he's just got to take this opportunity, because now is the time for him to push through and add some damage. Black Knight off the top for hyped is also pretty good, so that way he can start addressing the board without just being really passive. Because if he allowed the damage to get snuck in, never know. Like Alec here off the top for Amaz would have probably been lethal there. All right, and it seems like Amaz does have some pretty good options here. The Doomhammer provides the ability to add some burst. How much are you afraid of something like Harrison Jones? Or do you want to develop the Fire Elemental, which also represents damage? If you're winning, how do you kind of extend here without playing into something that just allows you to lose the game? Like if you get Harrison Jones, is that rebound the warrior enough to draw into something like Brawl?
I feel like Doomhammer is actually cool. If there is you just take a gamble. If there is a Harrison Jones, he will draw a lot of cards, but on the other hand, it's 5 points of mana, and Harrison Jones is not that good as a card facing this kind of board. But on the other hand, if there's no Harrison Jones, Doomhammer is such a good card because you play it, you deal 4 points of damage at the same turn, and then you just continue dealing the damage and getting the armor out. So a pretty good card, but here the decision of playing Fire Elemental is also good. You just ignore the brawl. There is no need to fear. You just push.
It feels like the board has been worthy of a brawl already, and most likely he'll have to top deck it if he even has it. Which, by the way, Hype doesn't. And in fact, I don't see a way for him to kind of answer this board whatsoever. His best way to survive is shield blocking. Ragnaros feels like an awful play, and there's no way for you to kind of utilize anything else with Cairn or Faceless. So Hype's kind of stuck digging for answers here.
Look at Hype's face, by the way. I'm sure he's thinking like, why am I playing against Shaman? What happened? What did I do wrong with my calculations? Why did I cut brawl?
Well, he drew Shield Slam, so that reduces some of the damage. At least killing off this Fire Elemental. But he needs a way to figure out the macro scheme. Like, how do you get rid of this board? It's so intimidating.
Well, it's 9 points of damage, and then the Doomhammer. So now Amaz will have to think: do I play the Doomhammer, or do I fear Harrison Jones? Because a possible Harrison Jones, Amaz is in yellow mode, okay, but a possible Harrison Jones would increase the chance of drawing into Brawl. But on the other hand,
he can't play both, though.
Yeah, he will only have 9 points of mana. So right now we are in yellow mode, and let's go for it. One card in hand. Like, if there is a brawl, you just lose.
Well, we know that there is no brawl, and Hype draws Unstable Ghoul, which doesn't give him any answer whatsoever. And he's got great quality cards individually in the hand, but this is exactly what Shaman does to Warrior when they allow him to build a board. Good demonstration of it's just like textbook Shaman versus Warrior, honestly.
Yeah, get Alexstrasza himself.
Gain 5 health really does nothing in this scenario. Hype's gonna try to set up the best line of defense he can, but even so, Amaz is in a really dominant position here.
Oh, Lightning Bolt! I'm sure it's a good card.
Let's see, how can you pair this together? Lightning Bolt, pack with the Healing Totem. You have 10 damage left. Oh man, a little tough. Amaz doesn't have lethal at the moment, at least by what we see.
Well, are you sure?
Yeah, he's got 11 damage at most, I think. If he spreads out all of his damage evenly and doesn't allow his minions to die, it looks like he's got 11 damage.
If he attacks with Doomhammer into one ghoul twice. Wait, he can attack one of the ghouls with Spider and then a Doomhammer, so the ghoul dies. Then he kills the second one with a Doomhammer, and he will have
you're right.
7 points of damage.
Plus the 4 from the Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, does the ghoul actually deal damage to heroes as well?
No, it does not.
Then
it's a wild pyromancer effect.
Yeah, I think that he is 1 damage of lethal, kind of.
Yeah, it's pretty painful. It needs to kind of get moving. Yeah. These animations do take a long time to get sorted. You don't want to miss damage whatsoever, Amaz. Gotta get rolling. I did lose all new Spectral Spiders too by order of sequencing. And I think he got the wolves off just in time and toteming. So there you go.
Now Alexstrasza is an okay card, I guess. 7, 9, 11. No, it's just okay. If he plays Alexstrasza, he's dead.
Yeah, Alexstrasza is still not enough to kind of heal him out of the spot. And Gromach doesn't do much, just eliminates a little bit damage off the board, but you still have 5 health, so I don't see a way Hype can sneak out of it. If he executes with Alexstrasza, there's 3, 7, 11, plus the lightning bolt is 15. So
Dead
no matter
anyway.
how you kind of cut the cookie here, Hype seems to be dead. At least unless you can figure out something else that we don't know.
He needed that brawl. Goes for like Straza execute play, which is reasonable, but because there's only one card in Amaz's hand, so it's a possibility that Amaz will have to trade into like Straza. Hype certainly hopes for that, but Amaz is exactly 15 points. Right now it's 16 points of damage.
And even if the spell power totem wasn't there, he had Azure Drake off the top too. So he's got a little bit of insurance in that department. Amaz will tie up the series 2-2. And this is what Shaman can do. It might not have the greatest percentages against matchups. Well, maybe other than this Control Warrior without Brawl. But generally speaking, against the field, it doesn't have the best percentages. But it's still good enough to win in almost any scenario, not all the time. Stage, an important match for both of them. Let's find out what happens and see how this pans out for Hyped. As he does have the more interesting deck. And right off the bat, he's going to mulligan everything away. Probably needs a better start. As much as it sucks to get something like Twilight Drake Earthshocked, if you have Duplicate in play, maybe that's one way to fight against the normal tool that Shaman has to fight against some of these bigger minions.
I actually didn't notice how many draw cards Hyped has in his deck, but I don't think he has that many. And right now, he didn't get any to his hand. He has Mad Scientist, which is pretty cool. But
I
other
think he
than
has
that,
Arcane Intellect, doesn't he? I think he has Arcane Intellect, and
He needs
Duplicate
to.
is kind of like a draw card.
and Duplicate is pretty cool, by the way, because you get cards outside of your deck, so you increase your card count, and it's pretty helpful if you're playing a control matchup. And Hyped told me that he's very comfortable playing with his mage against all those control decks. That after banning Hunter, Mage was his deck to win the tournament. Like you ban Hunter, and then Mage is a very good deck against all the different decks that people can throw at you. But he wasn't expecting Shaman again, and he is facing Shaman. So I'm not really certain if he can pull it off here. And Shaman with the Earthshocks and it's pretty like Earthshocks and Hexes and a lot of removal is pretty good for against this kind of deck with Twilight Drakes and Giants.
Yeah, but what if he like say this is Duplicate? He coins out Twilight Drake. It gets Earthshock. He has 2 more Twilight Drakes, and he plays it anyways, as if nothing ever happened. In fact, the Twilight Drakes will be slightly stronger next turn because he'll have 2 more in his hand.
Yeah, certainly that's the thing that's countering Earthshock nicely. But there is no Earthshock from Amaz side. Is he going to just kill the Drake?
Oh, he
Take his
has
chances.
to. But now he knows it's not Mirror Entity, at least. And now he's hesitant, and Amaz wants to actually kill us off with his minion here. Make himself weakened. It looks like it's not Duplicate. I think it makes sense because Hype did hesitate for a little bit of time. Because I think if it was Duplicate, it's almost an insta-call here on how to play that turn.
Do we actually know which secret is this?
Nothing jumps out to mind. Is it Counterspell? It might be Ice Block. Ice Block is also inside the deck of Hyped.
Well, I haven't seen him actually most over it, so missed it.
Yeah, we
Well,
can't
now-
even see it, even if it does. Duplicate comes in the hand, by the way. Another a way to kind of deal with a lot of the minions is Frost Nova and Doomsayer, so that way you can push it out. But if it gets Earthshocked or Hexed, you're still kind of sad.
And Amaz actually got Earthshock, and Hype can assume that Earthshock is not there because his Twilight Drake was not killed with it, but Amaz did top deck it, so unfortunately, this gamble didn't pay off. Did stop the minions for 1 turn though. Now he has a 0-5 blank. And when it dies, well, he has to play the Duplicate now.
So Ice Block is in the hand, but it's not glowing, which means Ice Block is activated for Hyped. You can't play a second Ice Block. And with double Molten Giant in hand, Hype does have powerful swing turns that can come up with Molten Giant. It's just that Shaman also does have reach if they're playing, like Doomhammer, or they silence your minion and they just kind of push through, even if you're able to taunt it. So as much as you have these lines of defense in the way to potentially bring yourself back in the game, you have to be careful as the mage because Shaman can still burst through you.
On the other hand, he doesn't have any taunt givers. He has Slash Belcher as a taunt, but even if he's able to play those Molten Giants after dropping very low, he will be in a situation where he can just die next turn. Well, Ice Block is really helpful because he has kind of like a double. Right now, being having one Ice Block on himself, and after dropping Molten Giants, he will be able to play another one. But still, he is in a weird spot.
Okay, so now Amaz can bring hype down to 10. And if so, he's playing Molten Giants, and I don't think Amaz is aware of this, so then that's going to allow hype to play everything with the Giants and then his normal turn. Which looks to be like a very big swing of things if Amaz can't push through here.
Well, the thing is, like, Amaz probably can't expect what kind of deck hype is playing. So, the Molten Giants might be surprising for Amaz. Let's look at his face.
Looks slightly concerned. As that is a full board, and keep in mind, he does have Ice Block number 2. Is Amaz able to push through this at the moment? And more importantly, is he afraid of potentially dying on the backswing? Because there is 18 damage past the Sludge Belcher.
Lightning Storm is so powerful with double spell damage. He rolls high on the
he rolls
Belcher.
high on the Belcher. Very important.
Sick. Well, right now he can just effectively clear. I wonder which secret actually hyped got.
I would have to imagine it's duplicate. Which, wait, no, if it's duplicate, it would have procced perhaps already. I'm not sure. Duplicate sometimes is really weird with AoEs and a mad scientist. Sometimes it procs on the minions that are killed, and sometimes it doesn't.
As far as I'm aware, it shouldn't proc because it enters play after all the minions are dead.
This will get duplicated, the 1/2.
Yeah, if this is a duplicate.
All right.
Yeah, it is a duplicate. Sick. He got so many taunts.
Well, hey, they're like smaller versions of Voidwalkers, which allows you to squeeze in your mana. You can play them next turn, potentially. By the way, he wants to pop this Ice Block and still be able to answer all these big threats.
Yeah, not bad. Got the Ice Block out. He dealt with one Giant. He's comfortable at 26 point health.
Amaz has pulled himself in a position to potentially win the game. But Frost Nova.
Frost Nova is super important here.
Yeah. Wait,
and Amaz's hand, like Amaz can't even play a minion.
Yeah, he can't rush him down with like Alakir or something if it's frozen. He needs Doomhammer to pop the Ice Block.
For free mana, Hyped has a card. Free mana, get a next turn. Like a Time Warp or Time Walk from Magic. It's
yeah, skip your opponent's next turn basically, while being able to squeeze an Ice Block. And you know what? These minions that with Taunt also allow this Molten Giant to be active. So unless Amaz has a way to neuter with like Hex on this Molten Giant, that's going to be 2 shots. Maybe Hype can still pull this out. And with Ragnaros in play, you never count anything else out. Because I think if he's able to pierce into damage... Okay, check this out, Nimsh. If he attacks with the Molten Giant twice, and then the next turn he attacks with his 2 small minions, and Ragnaros hits the face, that's lethal.
That would be sick. But still, that's too risky.
Yeah, way too risky.
Do you think he wishes to have Fireballs in his deck right now? With Molten Giant attacking for 8 and then attacking for 10 next turn, that will be 18, and he'll have to deal 8 points of damage. So even Fireballs.
I think more than that, he cares about something like Flame Strike more.
If he gets if he gets a Flame Strike or Blizzard, that's huge.
That is massive.
Now even Arcane Intellect will be good. Twilight Drake is not something he wanted. Well, but he can safely play Ragnaros, by the way.
Maybe he wants more taunts and like duplicating, and then put out like a. Oh, but the Twilight Drake is so pitifully weak.
Yeah, I think like Ragnaros is fine because you still have one more turn. So you play Ragnaros like being a big threat. You have an 8/4 giant, so you can still kill something if you want to, or you can just push with damage, and then your opponent will have to go through 2 small taunts, and will have 2 big threats, and still have to deal 4 points of damage to be able to pop the ice block. So potentially he has 2 more turns, or even 3 more turns, depending what Amaz will decide to do.
It feels like almost no matter what Hype does, I don't know if he can prevent getting popped here. So I think Ragnaros is his best shot, and he wants to take out this Twilight Drake because that'll extend his life a little bit longer. 1 in 5 chance here, Nimsh. Oh, that's almost the worst one possible because it procs more of the minions to be able to be alive here.
Yeah, and easily go through the taunt slimes. On the other hand, Amaz doesn't have a way to deal with Ragnaros right now.
But he can set up a big wall, Feral Spirits, Totems, Harvest Golem.
By the way, I think like attacking into that Spectral Knight was kind of weird. Like I would go for face and just hope, because then Ragnaros has more hit value. You have 2 big minions that you can actually hit. And on the other hand, if Ragnaros hits face, then it's 16 points of damage and you leave your opponent at 10. So your opponent will have to clear. But yeah, he doesn't have Fireballs, he doesn't have a Pyroblast in his deck, so I guess it was an option as well.
All right, well, I don't see a way for Hype to survive this.
If he plays Duplicate and then Amaz, instead of killing him, decides to kill Ragnaros.
And he's done it. Amaz has come back down 0-2, and he's won the series 3-2, as he played very well with his Shaman deck for 3 games in a row.